Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendment to have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now. The Equal Rights Amendment is the law of the land now. 28th Amendment to the Constitution now.
In this video, Joe Biden goes full dictator and unconstitutionally just declares that he's adding a new amendment to the Constitution. He also commuted the sentences of another 2,500 people, then proceeds to brag how he's issued more pardons and commutations than any U.S. president. Joy Reid claims the election was stolen and illegal migrants are actually self-deporting themselves in anticipation of Inauguration Day. But where I have to start this video is Joe Biden just declaring a new amendment to the Constitution. Here he is saying that the Equal Rights Amendment is now the law of the land. Watch.
Just over 100 years ago, a pioneering group of women proposed the Equal Rights Amendment to enshrine the principles of gender equality in our Constitution. Throughout my career, I've been clear. No one should be discriminated against based on their sex. And in order for the amendment to be ratified, it requires 3/4 of the states to ratify it. That benchmark was passed when Virginia ratified the ERA a few years ago. Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendment to have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now. The Equal Rights Amendment is the law of the land now. It's the 28th Amendment to the Constitution now.
It seems like the Democrats just don't even care at this point that they're exposing themselves as the true boogeymen that they said the Republicans were. I thought Trump was the threat to democracy and the threat to the Constitution, and now you have Joe Biden days before leaving office just simply declaring a new amendment to the Constitution. So the Equal Rights Amendment passed in 1971, and it had 10 years to get ratified by 3/4 of the state. That would put its expiration in 1982. And it just recently passed that 75% threshold, almost 40 years too late. So even though it's well past expiration, Joe Biden isn't hearing any of that and is unilaterally just going to declare that a new amendment is going to be added to the Constitution. It's just so ironic that the Democrats were screaming about the Republicans having no respect for the institutions, no respect for the rule of law, no respect for the Constitution. And just in the short time since Donald Trump won the election, the Democrats have completely disregarded the institutions, the rule of law, and the Constitution at every single opportunity. So Joe Biden puts out a tweet celebrating his authoritarian decree, and it gets community noted and fact-checked in the most hilarious way. So I'm going to throw that up on screen right now so we can see it. It reads, "Today I'm affirming what I have long believed and what 3/4 of the states have ratified. The 28th Amendment is the law of the land, guaranteeing all Americans equal rights and protections under the law regardless of their sex." To which Community Note says, "The archivist of the United States charged with officially publishing ratified amendments has confirmed that the ERA was not ratified and based that analysis on binding legal precedent. There is no 28th Amendment." Now, Scott Jennings, our boy over at CNN, had a hilarious response to Biden's decree. He says, "Looking forward to President Trump citing the Biden rule when he begins unilaterally changing the Constitution via social media posts. Biden truly is the gift that keeps on giving." So Kamala Harris also took to Twitter to announce their unconstitutional constitutional amendment, to which she says, "The Equal Rights Amendment is the 28th Amendment, and it is the law of the land." I love how they're just decreeing what is the law of the land. But Community Notes responded to her in kind and said, "There is no 28th Amendment. The president does not have the authority to declare amendments to the U.S. Constitution, and the National Archivist is not ratifying it." I love how if Trump would have done something like this, I swear the Democrats would be crying and screaming Bloody Mary. I'll just keep on saying it. The Democrats are doing irreparable damage to their brand. It's like they don't understand that people have eyes and have a memory and aren't going to forget that you spent the last 4 years calling Trump the ultimate threat to American democracy. And now you guys are continuing to do this kind of stuff. Now, because Biden hasn't done anything positive for the hardworking, law-abiding citizen, the only action that he can take that he seems to be glowingly proud of is his ability to issue pardons and commutations. So here's Fox News reporting on his newest batch of commutations, 2,500 people, as if he or anybody else actually looked through these things, as they're just throwing commutations and pardons out like hotcakes at this point. Watch.
So just in, President Biden giving a parting gift to nearly 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug offenses, commuting their sentences before he leaves the White House. Chanley Painter is here with the details. Hey, Chanley.
Hey, good morning, Lauren.
Morning.
So President Biden saying the latest clemency action is an important step in correcting sentencing disparities after commuting the sentences of nearly 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug offenses who he says are serving disproportionately long sentences compared to the sentences they would receive today under current law, saying, quote, "With this action, I have now issued more individual pardons and commutations than any president in U.S. history. I am proud of my record on clemency and will continue to review additional commutations and pardons." This coming after the president last month commuted the sentences of nearly 1,500 prisoners and pardoned 40 others, including his son Hunter, marking the largest single-day grant of clemency in history.
Now, it's all gravy to handpick the one guy who probably did deserve a commutation, but let's not forget, when Biden commuted his last batch of people, he included a judge who was sentencing minors unlawfully to harsh, long prison sentences because he was getting kickbacks for every single person that he sent there. He commuted the sentence of a Chinese foreign national who was convicted of peddling, should I say, kid videos, for lack of a better word. He commuted the death row sentences of 37 people who committed atrocities right before Christmas time and just gave a giant middle finger to the families of the victims. So much for being about law and order and nobody is above the law. This is the same party that had their whole defund the police arc and also let in 15 million people illegally into the country with no repercussions, so I guess it's kind of on brand. Now, we know the Biden administration has no regard for the norms, the institutions, the Constitution, the rule of law. But you know what they do care about more than anything else? Diversity. Here's a farewell video put out by the Biden White House saying how they're so proud that they accomplished their #1 priority: diversity.
I always start crying when I talk about this. So, President Biden promised that he would have a cabinet that looks like America, and he did.
We're talking about this incredible, full-throated commitment to equity.
There's more women of color, more people on the cabinet with perspectives that have never been around a decision-making table before.
I'm the member of President Biden's cabinet, his budget director, and I'm the first black woman to do it.
With diversity comes different views, different perspectives, and better decision-making.
Is happening with this administration under the leadership of this president is historic in so many ways.
I am so proud to be the first Native American to serve on the president's cabinet.
The Democrat Party also did irreparable damage to the diversity movement. Americans are loving and tolerant, and we accept the fact that we live in a multicultural nation. But that wasn't enough for liberals. They were on a mission to let everybody know that they thought white people were evil, were the spawn of the devil, and that they were going to do everything in their power to hire anybody else but white people. Before all this woke nonsense, if I would have gotten on a plane and seen a black woman pilot, I would have just assumed that she was the most qualified person for the job. But after places like United Airlines and American Airlines putting out statements that their goal is to increase diversity, their quotas are now to hire a certain amount of people based on their sex or race, we have no choice now but to look at people in those positions and say, were they really qualified or are they just a quota hire? And then on top of that, Biden had the most diverse White House you possibly could. He had trans people, he had gay people, he had black people, and it was the worst administration in modern history by a long shot. So his whole diversity project just blew up in his face, and that's why you see corporate America removing their DEI departments and slashing DEI policies. Because the American culture has rejected it, has fought it back. because it doesn't work. Meritocracy works. And if the person so happens to be a gay, trans, black woman, two-spirited individual, then so be it. Now, another stunning piece of news today is that illegal immigrants are voluntarily self-deporting themselves in anticipation for Trump's inauguration. Watch.
Trump has promised to carry out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. And before those operations begin, some migrants are already choosing to leave the country voluntarily. News Nation's Jorge Ventura joins us live from San Antonio, Texas this morning with more on this story. Jorge, how many migrants are we actually seeing doing this, leaving voluntarily?
Right now, Marky, it's unclear, but we are starting to see a trend, and this comes as cities across the U.S. and Mexico are now bracing for President-elect's deportation operation. But his hardline messaging on those deportation efforts have some migrants panicking and some even choosing now to self-deport back to their home countries. I spoke with immigration attorney Rolando Vasquez, who tells me that some of the immigrants that he represents that entered under the Biden administration are now choosing to return home, fearing deportation under the incoming administration.
See, now, if all these people were legitimate asylum seekers and they had legitimate claims to be in this country, they wouldn't be deporting themselves. This just exposes that they were trying to take advantage of the system, and now that somebody's here plugging up the leak, they know that it's time for them to go back home. Because if you get deported, you can never, ever become a U.S. citizen or enter the country again. So it's really in their best interest to get up out of here before ICE has to do it, and then they can try to get in line the legal way and enter this country just like everybody else. Democrats seem to not understand that we have an obligation to be picky about who we let into our country. And a lot of these places where illegal migrants are coming from, remember, it's all over the world. It's not just Mexico or South America. Sometimes they don't have official government records. Sometimes they use fake names. How can you be sure that the person coming into the country isn't a vicious criminal back where he's from? You can't. These things take time. It takes a lot of vetting, a lot of resources. You can't let anybody from anywhere and an uncapped number of them just come into the greatest country in the world and expect for it to stay that way. We have our own problems here domestically, so we certainly can't absorb 20 million people into this country and then figure out how we're going to assimilate them into society and how we're going to take care of them in the meantime. Now, the last thing that I want to show you in today's video is Joy Reid, the biggest race baiter, grifter, propagandist for the Democrat Party, doing the unspeakable sin that the Democrats said was evil and un-American, claiming that the election was stolen. Watch.
They're even talking about like stealing an election. And it's making me rethink whether I do believe like election machines can be hacked. Because I've always been like, you can't hack the election machines, but they're like convincing me, I don't know, maybe you can. I don't know.
I mean, to me, in this world, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
There are all these conspiracy theories out there about Trump and whether or not they cheated. I know you say that they didn't, but I know you kind of have to.
Wait a minute. I didn't say they didn't. What I said is there is a rational explanation for why Kamala Harris could have lost those swing states and Trump won them. There's a way you can get to those numbers with people staying home or only voting for Trump and not the rest of the ballot. I'm saying there's a history of that. However,
let me hear it, because what
I will say is there was absolute voter suppression that took place, and I consider that cheating. If you think about the voter law in your state of Georgia, that law is anti-voter.
First off, can I say how terrible Joy Reid looks? I don't know if it was the lighting or maybe she just woke up or whatever the case is, but she looked like a zombie off of The Walking Dead. Now, they're mad that the state of Georgia required ID to be able to vote. I'm flabbergasted, and I've yet to get a coherent and legitimate reason why anybody would be opposed to voter ID laws, to making sure that the people voting in our elections are actual U.S. citizens. The only argument I'll ever hear is a super racist one from white liberals who claim that voter ID shouldn't be required because black people and Mexican people don't have access to IDs. Like we're some sort of subhuman species that doesn't understand how to go to the DMV and get an ID or a driver's license. When I throw that in their face, they always crumble and they get so scared that they're going to be canceled or exposed for being a racist. And I have to tell them, yeah, see, that's the problem with wokeism. It is super, super racist. You've embraced a racist ideology masquerading masquerading as something virtuous. When you say white privilege is real in an attempt to stand with the black man, all you're saying in the same breath is black people are less capable than a white person. They need more help. They need more assistance. They need more support. They cannot simply do it on their own. They are not capable of it. And that, my friends, is racism. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.